All right. Let's just make sure everything is awake, and then we will be dancing on the battlefields. You guys know me. I don't take anything to chance. I wait until I see everything before I close out because I take nothing to chance. Nothing at all. Okay. All right. We are alive on the internet. The internet has given us another day to thrive and be ourselves. How exciting is that? How exciting is that? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morrow. How's the future? Are you in Australia? What's the future like? Did we make it another day? Are we okay? I've been watching the Umbrella Academy. I don't know. Maybe the apocalypse is going to happen any second now, and there's got to be some like 58-year-old that's like posing as a 13-year-old or vice versa, however it worked. And that guy needs to save us all. Maybe that's what's going to go down. I don't know. For anyone that hasn't watched the Umbrella Academy, I recommend it. It's a great show. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Good to see everybody. Hope you are staying safe. Hope you are staying well. Hope you are staying out of trouble. First of all, a shout out to everyone that makes this show possible. Our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. They're a great tea shop, have fantastic teas. They supply the tea to this show. They got some great smoky black teas. They got some refreshing afternoon green teas. That's the best time to have green tea, in the afternoon. It's not something you do first thing in the morning. You need a harder punch than that. At least I do. But it's very refreshing in the afternoons. ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. Also, triageoil.com. Our friends over at triageoil.com. They make pain oil that you rub on your body, and it works wonders for me. Also, update on that. It works on sunburns and cuts. I know you're thinking, Ron, you get sunburned in the summer? I know, crazy. But it does happen to me. And when it does, CBD oil that Triage Oil provides helps. Now, you might be thinking, Ron, what about the type of oil that I can drink? What about that CBD oil? Do you got me covered? Yes, I do, actually. RareNaturalsCBD.com. That's Rare Naturals with an S, CBD.com. That's the type of oil that you put in your beverage, or you put a drop under your tongue and it relaxes you. I use it a lot when I feel a headache coming on. Like, I feel a headache coming on. I'm stressed out, maybe because I'm looking at the world around me and, I see what's going on. Somebody just said we're not on YouTube. So let me look at that right now to make sure that's not going on. Let's see here. I'm going to attend to this right away. Looks like we're on YouTube. Yeah, we're on YouTube. People are saying you're on YouTube. We're definitely on YouTube. Oh, yes, you are. Yeah, the yes, you are's are coming in. We are on YouTube. So somebody just spread fake news. I don't know who wanted to do that. I don't know why people were spreading fake news saying that the YouTube, because we had a big issue with the YouTube yesterday. That's why I panicked and checked right away. We had a big issue with the YouTube yesterday where somehow my settings changed and my stream was unlisted and we had to post it later. I wasn't upset about that at all. I was very upset. And again, please accept my apology for that. It was a very big bummer. But there we go. We're here. Yeah, everything's safe. And so yeah, RareNaturalCBD.com. When you go there, use the promo code Lucy at checkout for 30% off your order. That's the promo code Lucy, Lucy, at checkout, and you get 30% off your order. I like to put the CBD oil in my water and then drink it. It's very refreshing. All right. Anyway, so there you go. RareNaturalsCBD.com. That's with an S, RareNaturalsCBD.com. Promo code Lucy at checkout. Without further ado, I'm finally going to bring my guest in. It took me a while because we had the panic moment with YouTube. But both of these folks have been on the show before. We got Patrick Cote and Savage Joy. You guys know Savage Joy especially. She was on the show recently. They just put out a book called the Yas Queen Chronicles, coverage from the first annual Resistance Forum. And it features such people as Joyanne Greed, Chris Badviews, one of my personal favorites in the chapter I read, Nancy Pagozzi, one of my other personal favorites, James Scarville, and Jennifer Pubin, among others. Their book is about to officially be dropped soon, I believe. And anyway, welcome them back to the show. How's it going, y'all?
Hey, thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
By the way, you need to seriously put some oomph in it, like, yes, queen.
God.
That's your part. That's I can't. I just got to do the title straight up. I just be like, yes, queen.
I'm with you, Ron. She makes me do that all the time on the phone when we're working on the book.
Just did
you do it with jazz hands?
First time.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, queen. I'm like, no.
Commit to it. Sell it.
Yes.
Sell it.
My neighbors think I'm absolutely insane, I'm sure.
Because you're just yes queening all the time.
Constant yes queen.
What's that? So was that part of the writing process? It was like, all right, time for another's writer room. And Joy's like, no, do it.
Do
Come
it.
on. No,
Say it.
everybody, a lot of people are asleep now. Do it. Okay.
Sounds like you were on the call.
So we're going to dive into the book, which I'm really stoked about. But first, we're going to get our news on together. And a lot of the news that I picked out today is kind of pertinent to the theme of your all's book. So let's start here. Chuck Schumer, always looking out for we the people. And he had this to say recently. Now, this was really hitting the blogosphere hard yesterday, but I actually chose not to cover it on the show yesterday because I wanted to cover it with you guys. Like, I knew you guys were coming on the show today, and I was like, this is definitely meant for Pat and Joy. So let's listen to this.
I have been very opposed to TikTok. I was one of the first to expose the Chinese links, and I have urged that TikTok be closed down in America. There's a new proposal. Mnuchin and Meadows brought it up yesterday to have Microsoft take it over. There are some questions that have to be answered. How will the data be stored and secured? Will the Chinese have links into TikTok? So before I would be for such a merger, I'd have to get some answers to these questions.
So this is the only time Schumer will stand up to a corporation is when they make an app that Trump doesn't like. How is the resistance, baby? The resistance.
Yeah. I mean, that might as well be dancing. Replace TikTok with dancing. That's what the Democratic Party has become. Like, we want to ban dancing. Dancing is not very popular with our voters.
It's like Footloose, but politically.
Right.
It's just, and look, I get it. I'm not saying like the Chinese government is great or perfect by any means. Nobody is, but you know, it's a bit ironic when you're complaining or you're expressing these concerns about TikTok on Twitter and on Facebook. Gee, isn't that an interesting choice?
Right. Well, and he's quoting Mnuchin's bill.
Yeah.
You know, like the devil has a bill forward that we're sort of thinking about supporting.
This is when we can get bipartisanship. What bipartisanship is really code for, Republicans have an awful idea. Maybe it's in relation to censorship. Maybe it's in relation to whatever else. Because let's be honest, the real issue Trump has with TikTok is what happened at his dumb Tulsa rally. That's his issue. That's his problem. And the fact that people are using it to mobilize. Are you guys on TikTok?
I am. I've done maybe 3. Because I'm just like, it's very difficult for me to only stick to a few seconds. So,
as a guy, a few seconds is easy.
Nice.
Have to throw that in. Zing.
You can get the book now, folks.
I did one when we won our lawsuit to get Bernie on the ballot in New York. I did one to Cuomo that was like, eat a bag of dicks. Eat a bag of dicks. Eat a bag of dicks, Cuomo. Eat a bag of dicks. You can even eat an even bigger bag of dicks. And then I did one with my friend that was Corn Pop was a bad dude. A bad dude. Yeah, bad dude.
So you do little like songs.
I mean, I guess you could call it that.
I now agree with Trump that TikTok should not exist. For the most part.
Breaking, folks. I have changed my position. I'm on it. I'm not good at it. So I've been making these short videos that I'm going to continue to make, where it's like I'll kind of break something down in like 2 minutes or less. And I've done ranked choice voting. I've done capitalism. I did a thing where I predicted what's going to happen in the first debate, and they're like goofy and fun. But that's still not short enough for TikTok. Like it's like 60 seconds. That's it. So I will break them up into parts on TikTok. And I guess some people have been watching them. I don't know. I mean, I don't go on it unless I have something to post. And seldomly do I really have any, because all I can do are those short videos. But if the video's like 2 minutes and 14 seconds, what am I going to do? Like do a minute, then another minute, and then like part 3, and it's like 12 seconds. Like, so, whatever. And I try to keep them under 220 because of Twitter. 220 is like the video limit for Twitter. So I try to do that, but
Yeah. So you put in 2 hours of editing for a 2-minute clip or 60-second clip.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, but I know a lot of people that love it. They're really big on the TikTok. I know people they've gotten like 80,000 followers in like a week, and they're just really connecting on that platform. But
socialist kids are where it's at. The ones that just go like this.
They point.
Like, capitalism sucks, and then those kids kick ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool too, and it's been fun to see. But here we have Republicans and Democrats banding together against this. They can stand up to this. When Trump doesn't like an app, they're there for you. They got your back. Yet there's still been no relief for the American people. They still are at a gridlock on another and I used stimulus in quotes because really it's just they're giving stuff away to the banks while throwing us over the boat once again.
Yeah, the absolute minimum they can give us to not get their heads chopped off is where we're at right now.
Well, what do you think's going to happen in the next one? Because I actually have an update here today that I was going to share with us. But what do you think's going to happen in the next one?
I mean, I would say compromise is, okay, they're going to do another $1,200.
Okay.
They're going to chop the 600 in half. So there's going to be another 300 on top of the unemployment. And other than that, it's going to be the same thing and a different kind of handout to the wealthy, like a different way, since we sort of complained about the other one and enough people know that the other one was too big of a handout to corporations. They're going to find different corporations, a different way to throw money at their rich friends.
Mm-hmm. So my prediction is a little bit different than yours. I predict that anybody making $50,000 or less a year, they're just going to tell everybody else, go kick that person in the groin. That's my guess. That's what I think the stimulus bill is going to have. Joy, what is your prediction?
That's exactly what I think. I think there's going to be more qualifications needed, and absolutely a kick in the nuts.
Right. For sure, more means testing. Yeah. How strong are your nuts?
So check this out. So Trump weighs in executive action as negotiations progress on the next coronavirus stimulus package. So Trump has been saying that he might use some executive orders to put a moratorium on evictions. And he's also saying, which I'll believe that when I see it, he's also saying that he would want to use an executive action to eliminate a tax on payroll, because that's the issue. That's it. We would just everybody would be fine if you just rolled back taxes on payroll issues. That's the only reason why we're not thriving right now. It's not because we have a pandemic and people can't work and the government isn't looking out for its people. Which, by the way, there's a handful of things where it's not political what a federal government is for. One of them is when something like a pandemic happens, you take care of your citizens. That's what a federal government is for. So it's so insane. We're the only industrialized country where we're making it out like the government is doing charity by providing for its people. Like, no, this is our money. It's our freaking money. This is your job in a pandemic. People can't work.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think the Democrats aren't doing anything for renters, there's lots of things they could do. They could freeze rent, freeze mortgages, things like every other country has done on earth. But instead, they are putting a fund together to pay lawyers.
Yeah.
Legal. Yeah. So you're going to pay a lawyer to fight your eviction, although by without changing the law, you should be fucking evicted.
So here's something else I wanted to point out in here. There was a part where, and this happened last week, and there's still people that will actually defend the Democrats on this. The Republicans said, or well, it was Mnuchin specifically said that we were going to extend things for a week. And it was just sort of a no strings attached, a short term, like, all right, let's just extend the 600 federal for a week while we figure out a long term solution, which it was just, of course, it was just a BS move to have a further BS move. But the Democrats should have called that and should have said, yes, we're extending it for a week. And because we're not going to leave people out in the cold for a day. So we're extending it for a week while we figure out a long-term bill. And while we're figuring out this long-term bill, we're going to hold your feet to the fire to come up with a decent long-term solution. They didn't do that. They said no to the 600. They were like, it's not a long-term bill, so we're not going to. So now they just made sure that people get as little as absolute possible, because you don't have the Senate, you don't have the White House. You know you're going to need to compromise in the long term. At least get a short-term win and get the best long-term compromise you can. Instead, they said, no, we won't even take the short-term win, and we know we're going to lose in the long term too. And this is by design.
Yeah, well, since this one actually affects regular people directly, this is the one time they're going to stick to their convictions and not compromise all the way through.
It's unbelievable. It's just, and there are still people that make excuses. I mean, I'm at the point now, I think every single person in federal government should just be fired and we should just replace them all. I am at that point. I am so over electoral politics in general. I refuse to even like or retweet anything from a politician, because I feel like if we really looked underneath the hood, we would find out there's a ministry of appeasement where their job is to just tweet nice bills to people. Just tweet nice bills out, nice ideas. What could you do with an extra $2,000 a month? That's none of your freaking business. What are you doing to actually make it a reality? That's what I want to know. Don't ask me these dumb questions and make me entertain some fantasy like you're actually doing something for the American people.
No, it does completely feel like professional wrestling at this point. You know, like Schumer's breaking a chair over Trump's head once in a while. And, you know, it's just nonsense, though. It's like the performative stuff, tearing up the documents and, you know, the golf clap from Nancy. It's all just show.
Well, and the interesting thing is some of us actually, you know, had this idea that Trump was going to outleft Biden. And I'm not saying I think Trump is actually going to stick to it and, you know, do a moratorium on rent and things like that. But he's at least saying this shit. Where's Biden? Where's Biden saying, you know what? Let's stop rent. Where is it? Where is he?
Biden is in his basement, literally. And I mean, this is not, I mean, you know, as far as 2020 goes, I think it's still just up for grabs. I think it's about 50-50. I know people are already counting the curtain. You know, they're already picking out curtains. They're already saying like Biden's got this. And I've heard this story before. This sounds familiar. And it's still a little while until November. I think if the election happened right now, I do think Trump would lose. He would beat himself, but there's still a long way. And I think that there's still some unknown factors here. I think it's closer than people realize. Because again, if it happened right now, I think it would be very close. I think it would be insanely close.
Yeah.
And I refuse to say the words Biden would win, because this is not an election. This is not Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Joy, you just touched your eye during a pandemic. I'm very concerned. For everybody listening to the podcast later. No, sometimes like I have to scratch my nose or something because like the cat's up here and I'm like, am I being judged? I don't know.
Well, I totally agree though. I mean, I think as far as, you know, Trump and Biden, I have continuously told people that is an extremely dangerous way of thinking, to be presumptuous that, oh, Biden, you know, they trend those stupid ass hashtags that are like Biden in the bag and like Biden has it and Biden victory and all this stupid garbage. And it's like, that's why your asses aren't doing any calls and stuff like that, because you just sit on Twitter and be like, he has it, and you don't actually want to put in sweat equity. And y'all are going to have a rude awakening when November comes and you're waiting for those results to come in, and then you're crying about Bernie bros. Like,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. I mean, it is so feasible that he wins again. And then there's the people who have this, you know, delusion that, well, maybe he doesn't want to win again and he'll just drop. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think either candidate actually wants to win. Now, what I don't think he'll drop. There's no way that's happening. But I think neither one of them actually wants to win, which I will say, that's the first time I've ever felt this way about a presidential election in my lifetime, or any election. Like, I've never felt like, oh, I don't even think either candidate wants to win. But I don't think either of them actually do.
I agree.
I think Biden wants the plaque on the wall. You know, like, I became president. I was president. But he doesn't. Yeah. A week into it, he's like, go ahead, Kamala.
Yeah. So, well, wait, now we're treading on different territory. Is that your prediction then? You think it's going to be, because that's my prediction. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's her or Abrams. I mean, they picked Kamala 3 years ago to be the next president, but nobody liked her. Nobody liked her. So they had to do Hail Mary to Buttigieg, to whoever else they tried. And nothing.
It was a round robin of the flavor of the week.
So
spelled WEAK.
Flava Flav of the week. Yeah. So, you know, they were stuck with Biden. That's the only way you get Biden. You're stuck with him. It's the only thing. It's the only play they had left.
I mean, Obama literally suggested he not run. He was not the choice by any means. I mean, I moved to Iowa for 5 weeks to volunteer for Bernie, and I met no Biden supporters. And on caucus night, he was not viable. In my auditorium of 900 people, he only had 42 people. He wasn't even viable. He came in fourth.
Was it a strong fourth though?
What's that?
Was it a strong fourth?
Oh, a strong fourth, absolutely. And then his buddy, his BFF, friendship bracelet buddy, you know, comes in and he makes phone calls. Everyone else drops except for Liz, because she had to fuck us over on Super Tuesday before she dropped. But everyone else starts dropping, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's like no one else to vote for except for Biden and Bernie and, you know, Commie. So then Biden steps up, and all of a sudden it's like, America's spoken, people want Biden. Actually, they didn't say that. They actually voted for like a bunch of other people who coincidentally happened to drop out at the same time.
Oh, it was it was so insanely scandalous when you really break it down. Like, this guy's not showing up in the top 4 or 5 in every state. And again, it was a round robin of the flavor of the week. How about Kamala? No. How about Beto? No, he's not even the best skateboarder in the roster. Right. Andrew Yang is actually better than him. How about Liz Warren? No. How about Liz Warren again? Still no. How about Buttigieg? No. All right. So everyone's going to drop. Then we're going to have the media manufacture this fake Joe Mentum thing, and then Joe's going to be the guy.
100%.
All right. I mean, that's exactly what happened. And it came out that the Democrats have spent over $15 million. And that might have just been in Kentucky alone, but $15 million just to stop progressive candidates. And now
Bill Clinton admitted it 2 days ago. He legit admitted it. Clyburn, with the stroke of a finger or whatever he said, like, he legit said, you know, everything we already knew. But I kind of think Biden might be contagious because Bill looked a damn mess. He couldn't speak correctly, and he had some like cognitive decline things going on for sure. Not to be ableist, but I don't have much confidence in him either. But I think that led to him accidentally spilling the truth that they rigged it again.
Well, you know what's interesting? As years go by, he is looked upon less and less fondly. I think, well, actually, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he's
it sounds
tied
like
into the
fondle, which is appropriate, but yeah, I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
so my question, do you think that'll happen with Obama too?
No.
Interesting.
I think Obama's locked down as just a god to too many people.
He's the first Black president, and he is the president before the worst president America has ever had. So you automatically have people, all the shit libs, automatically love the person who predated the worst person. That's a lot of why people love Joe, because of Obama nostalgia. They want to go back to the way things were, go back to normal, which is the most privileged thing in the universe. But yeah, no, I mean, only people who, like, anytime you comment anything rather than I love Obama, you just get ripped. I mean, people like, he's a deity to people, and I do not see that ever changing.
You know, I want you guys to be wrong, but I think you're right. As far as like the deity thing, I do see that diminishing some over time. I feel like in some ways it already has. I mean, especially with that like painfully condescending podcast that Michelle Obama just put out, which, I mean, how ridiculous. So it's my first podcast. My guest is going to be my husband. And, it's interesting because we're the ruling class. By the way, the reason we have problems is because young people are selfish. Even though, by the way, you look outside, there's civil unrest that is setting records in this country during a pandemic. That's happening. There are a lot of people in this country, some who I know personally, who are saying, I have not been able to attend a protest yet because my grandmother lives in the same house with me. I can't go out there right now. I'm there in spirit. I'm doing everything I can digitally, but I can't go out there right now. I know people like that. There's a lot of people like that. There's people who would go more, but they're like, I got to pace myself because there's a certain, danger right now. You got to be careful. You got to social distance, mask, all that stuff. So, but even despite the pandemic,
their mindset, the Obamas and just centrists in general, is don't protest, vote. Like, going out in the street and protesting this stuff. No, just solve it at the election, at the election box. Go cast your vote. And I saw a meme today just on Facebook that was like, it had a mailbox with something about voting on it. It was like fascism prevention box or something. Like, the people in the streets are protesting things that were systematically put in place by Joe Biden.
Right.
So you think voting is going to solve this? No.
And if he picks Kamala, that is some irony. Like you're picking someone who calls themselves a top cop when we are seeing examples every single day of police brutality and murder and, just all this disgusting behavior. And you're picking Crime Bill, Jim Crow Joe, and top cop. That is the most tone-deaf thing feasible.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say blaming everything in the world on Republicans is just such a Democratic thing to do. But right now you can look at California and we're super majority here. Any bill we want to pass ever, we can just get passed. Veto-proof super majority because the governor's a Democrat too. We don't even give out masks in California. The fifth biggest economy in the world is our state, totally democratically run, and we can't give out masks in a pandemic.
I think, going big picture here, the best thing that could happen is we somehow, and I don't know how this could happen, at least not on a massive scale, but we need to just form some kind of mutual aid network completely separate from the federal government and just deem them unnecessary. I mean, I know that's like beyond idealist in theory, but
we're like 2 billionaires away from doing that. If we could just get 2 billionaires.
Right. That's the thing. If we could just get 2 billionaires to want to do the right thing for maybe the first time ever, like, but
Let's start a campaign, 2 billionaires or something.
I'll hit
well,
up
how about
tonight.
how about Steyer? How about Tom Steyer, Mr. Like, oh, he likes Bernie and he has a cute tie. If he's
Like,
really
okay.
so, if he's really so such a good dude, first of all, if you're an actual ethical person, I mean, let's be honest here. And I'm not saying like, hey, man, none of us are perfect. I'm far from perfect. Nobody's perfect. But if you behave appropriately, let's just put it that way, appropriately in your life, you don't become a billionaire. Full stop. Full stop. It doesn't happen. It's impossible. You can become very wealthy. But if you're actually treating the people who help you accumulate that amount of wealth the right way, i.e. living wages, i.e. compensating them for the product of their labor, i.e. healthcare, all these other things, you're not going to be a billionaire. You're not going to get that much. You can get a lot. You can get enough that, you have a great idea. It really, you create the next Facebook, whatever. You can create enough wealth that you're never going to want, your kids are never going to want, but you're not going to make it to $1 billion unless you screw over a lot of people in the process.
Well, Tom started a grassroots hedge fund business. Grew it from just a humble $2 or $3 million to 50 million. So or whatever the hell it is,
If he really wanted, and I don't want to harp on that guy too much, but if he really cared about saving the climate that he helped destroy, by the way, he helped destroy the climate that he now wants to save. If he really cared about climate change, the last thing he would do is run for president. What a waste of time and resources. All of the things you could do. You could actually say, hey, that Green New Deal that we need, I'll foot the freaking bill. I'll pay for it. You want to know how you're going to pay for it? I'm paying for it. Boom. Problem solved. That's what he would do. If he actually, Elon Musk, if he actually gave a hoot about the climate, he would be talking about Mars or misinterpreting Marx on Twitter just to be a troll. And by the way, since we're on the topic of Elon Musk, there's 2 types of people in this world for sure you can't trust as far as you can throw. Billionaires and people who don't inhale. He's both. He is both.
True story.
It's true.
Well, I'll just let it slide a little. We give it to him in the book a little bit. So.
Oh, nice. Well, I wanna do one more thing with you guys before we get specifically to the book. This hit yesterday, and I think this is so pertinent to what you guys are trying to do with the book and just kind of the world at large. This woman left MSNBC. And here's why. This is her letter that she wrote. Her name is Ariana Picari. Personal news, why I'm now leaving MSNBC. Just quit. That's the advice Alec gave a year and a half ago. So she was expressing concerns about her job. Why was she expressing concerns about her job? Well, because they're not really doing news. Here's some of the verbiage from her piece. It's possible that I'm more sensitive to the editorial process due to my background in public radio, where no decision I ever witnessed was predicated on how a topic or guest would, quote, rate. The longer I was at MSNBC, the more I saw such choices. It's practically baked to the editorial process, and those decisions affect news content every day. The cancer, so she says, a TV veteran said this to her. Now, she doesn't use names in this. We are a cancer and there is no cure. I guess occasionally people in TV news tell the truth, and it's when they're talking to their colleagues behind closed doors. We are a cancer and there is no cure. As it is, this is getting back to her piece, this cancer stokes national division, even in the middle of a civil rights crisis. The cancer risks human life, even in the middle of pandemic. This is an interesting take. The primary focus quickly became what Donald Trump was doing poorly to address the crisis, rather than the science itself. As new details have become available about antibodies, a vaccine, or how COVID actually spreads, producers still want to focus on the politics. This cancer risks our democracy. Even in the middle of a presidential election, any discussion about the election usually focuses on Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, a repeat offense from 2016. And here, this was a really interesting quote that she has here, where one of her colleagues basically says, we're not news. They go, we're not news. Oh, here we go. Here's the quote. Our viewers don't really, they're referring to MSNBC. This is an MSNBC producer. Our viewers don't really consider us the news. They come to us for comfort. Truer words were never spoken about MSNBC. That should be their slogan if they're being honest.
Right. But the problem is the viewers do come in theory for the news, but what they get is comfort. Now, if they knew it was entertainment, if it said on the bottom, entertainment only, or asterisk, if the Chiron said, DNC employees or something like that on the bottom, it'd be different. But the problem is all our centrist friends think that they're getting unbiased news, It's propaganda.
I think it's also like subtle. Like they think that, oh, I'm doing my due diligence because I just clocked in my time watching some news. But really, you were just watching anti-Trump catnip. And deep down, that's what you were doing. But you feel like, well, I can repeat a couple talking points now. I can repeat a couple talking points. And it's really about stuff that, let's be honest, is just fluff. I mean, Rachel Maddow just repeated fluff for 4 years. She just did fluff for 4 years. And she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew what she was doing because she knew during the Obama years who was the number one personality? Sean Hannity. Why? Because some people like the president. Some people are opposed to the president. And those people who are opposed, they really need their catnip because they think whatever's going on in the White House is, the be all and end all of everything. So they need their catnip. So Sean Hannity was number one while Obama was president. Rachel Maddow, number one while Trump's president. She knew exactly what she was doing.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, props to this woman. That's amazing. I can't even fathom the vitriol she's going to get by coming out with that.
Yeah, I mean, well, and she walked away. I mean, now I don't know what she'll do next, but she walked away. I don't know what she was doing in public radio. If she was referring to NPR, I don't share her enthusiasm for it. But I mean, it's still, this is a peek under the hood where she's basically saying our network doesn't even think we're news. Even we know we're not doing a civil service to the American people. We're just basically chasing ratings and we're making sure our advertisers are happy. I mean, so much of what goes on MSNBC, and again, all the cable networks are guilty of this. But the reason you guys are doing what you're doing, where you really single out MSNBC, is because there's still so many people in this country that think Fox News is the only guilty culprit. And Fox News is terrible. Don't get me wrong. Fox News is atrocious. But they all do the same thing. But cable news, it's not news.
The one thing I would add, though, it's not entirely ratings. It's keeping the donors happy with the ratings, too, because without a doubt, going all the way back to 2015, Bernie would have gotten big ratings for them.
Yeah.
And they couldn't allow that,
Right.
So the issues do matter because they have to have a corporate spin to them. I mean, like, where they really harm us is in things like, they'll take internet neutrality, for example. So they pretend to have unbiased people on to discuss net neutrality, but they're biased people. And one of them will have a view like, well, it's not the end of the world. And that'll be the, whatever kind of thing. And then, we repeal net neutrality.
Well, it was amazing. I mean, I actually saw a segment listened to a segment on net neutrality on NPR where they had a cable lobbyist and a cable lobbyist discuss net neutrality. No bias there. And then you had Rachel Maddow pretend like she doesn't understand it. I mean, you had her go, because she wouldn't go as far. I mean, MSNBC is owned by Comcast, one of the biggest anti-net neutrality companies out there. She wouldn't go on to say, like, this is no big deal. She couldn't say that. Because she knows better. She's like, I can't just straight up. But she pretended like she's like, well, this is a big deal. I don't know what it's going to do, but it's a big deal. Really, Rachel, you don't understand how a utility something in our lives that we rely on, that we need, like flowing water or a phone call. When you treat the internet that way, it remains free and open. And we've had net neutrality since the advent on the internet. We got it cemented on the books in 2015. Then it got repealed, and it got repealed because the cable companies wanted to mess with it. And that's why we're seeing the slow boil effects of that now. And we have an organized duopoly for internet access. That's why we pay more for crappier internet than a lot of other countries. You know, you don't understand all that. That's too complicated. It's not too complicated. You know, you get it. You get it. You just can't report on it honestly. And it goes to, you look at who advertises on these networks: oil and gas companies, weapons manufacturers. What, you think they're trying to get the word out? No, they're buying favorable coverage. No consumer watching the news is like, I am in the market for a new tank. I'm glad I saw this commercial. Yeah. But they're buying favorable coverage. They don't want you to talk about what the empire's really doing all over the world. They don't want you to talk about what's really going on in the environment, because they want to drill, baby, drill. And they don't want you to talk about any of the social movements that are really going on, because they like the status quo, and any social movement threatens the status quo. That's why every single coverage of every single protest, from SDS back in the 60s to Occupy, to Dapple, to Black Lives Matter, and everything in between, is marginalized, trivialized, and misreported on purpose.
Absolutely. And that's why we should be, all of us in independent media should be so proud that, you know, we may not be making millions and on TV for, you know, entertainment purposes, but at least we're doing something we can be proud of.
Well, and here's the other connection here. We're without a free and open internet, we're donezo. We are donezo without a free and open internet. And people make it seem like it'll never happen, but it could. I mean, we lost radio, we lost TV. You think we can't just lose another medium? You think it's impossible that we'll be telling our kids and our grandkids, like, hey, you used to be able to have your own podcast. Really? You didn't have to be on the Disney network or HBO? No, anyone could just have a podcast. And it loaded like under 5.5 hours. Yeah, it did.
Oh, it could totally go away. I mean, you know, like this election cycle, everyone's pretending free college is something that is just totally undoable, but we had free college. You know, things can get worse and keep getting worse and worse and worse.
It's so unbelievable when they have those discussions of just like, when you just look at, I think there should just be, someone needs to just make the t-shirt that just says, Wall Street at the end of the day really pulls in an estimated quadrillion. And that should just be all that's on the t-shirt. Quadrillion. Do you know how many zeros are in a quadrillion? I honestly don't, but I know it's a freaking lot. It's a lot. That could pay for whatever many times over. And I know like there's some, you know, like it's kind of like a nominal number, so it's not, but still, when it's that high, we could pay for free college. We could pay for, I mean, all this stuff we could pay for. And by the way, you take a second to learn a little bit about MMT, and you find out that, yeah, we can really pay for this. It's not an issue. It's a non-issue. It's just a right-wing talking point by a federal government who's actively working against the people, because that's all the donors let them do.
Yeah. And I mean, if the Democratic Party was sincere about changing any of this, they would be bringing up that those are Republican talking points, and they don't even do that anymore. They don't even argue against means testing all these programs. They don't push back on anything at all, really.
Well, so let's get to your guys' book then, because your book really parodies all this stuff. The Yas Queen Chronicles, coverage from the first annual Resistance Forum. So I read the sample chapter, and the way y'all did it was it's an actual forum, right?
Yes.
And does that go on throughout the book?
Yes.
Like that's the entire book? Okay, cool.
Yes, the idea is it's kind of like a college circuit kind of thing, where all these, you know, you got some MSNBC pundits running a thing with a bunch of shit libs on stage, and then accidentally Nina Turner ends up on the stage with them as well.
And her mic, well, in the chapter I read, her mic gets cut whenever she tries to, you know, kind of point out the insanity of it all. Her mic gets cut. and then it's back to my favorite was actually if I had to pick a favorite out of the chapter I read, I'd have to give the medal to James Scarville, just because he was so he was so close to the real guy. Like, it was just
gets even better. Like, he evolves, and he even, while we're reading it again and editing, we absolutely crack up. Just typing about him and reading it. He's definitely my husband's favorite. I personally love him, but I loved writing Alyssa Shalano. I thought she was so easy to come up with stuff, and we can see the characters saying every single thing we've written. So it's like it almost turns into a movie as you read it, because you can just see it happening.
So what was let's back up a little bit then. So how did this idea come about? Like, what made you guys want to write this book?
Well, I was just it was when Tara Reid came out, and I was watching women, especially, just going after her and being not even just not believing her, but saying the most disgusting things, and also saying, well, Trump's worse, like it's some kind of sliding scale. And I just saw the way these Me Too people started deleting their Me Too in their bio, started just attacking her and saying all of a sudden, don't believe all women, because she's talking about a Democrat. And it just like started giving me ideas. At first I thought, well, why don't I make a book about because like people tend to like my snarky tweets. So I was like, maybe I'll just make a book of like my snarky tweets. And then I'm like, nah, that's not like that fun. So I hit up Pat, because I thought, well, maybe we can collaborate together, but we were just acquaintances. He was on my show a few times, but he's in California. I'm in Pennsylvania. We've never met. So I was like, he doesn't know me, so I can't expect him to trust me to literally write a book with me. But let me just message him on Facebook and see what he says. And I knew he was writing a second book. But I figured, I was just like, hey, how do you feel like maybe doing this in the future? And he's like, what's your phone number? Let's start this weekend. And it was like right when Bernie dropped out that it really started to solidify. And I'm like, I am so depressed. I cannot stand this. Let's turn, a lot of heartache and a lot of disgust for things into something that we can try and laugh about, like the very epitome of, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially as you're experiencing it in real time. I mean, I know for me, obviously not being able to tour has been like, like part of my heart is just broken, but it'll come back, and that's okay. But I just having something like, we do shows on Zoom and having, this show and just being able to tweet and write. I mean, that's how you cope with this stuff. It really is. I mean, it's how you cope with this stuff. And boy, do we need it this year. I mean, it's just, this is one on every single level. Like, it's just everything that could have gone wrong did and continues to. And then of course you put a pandemic on top of it. It's been totally unreal. So you guys have never actually met in person?
Nope.
No, we did most of it over the phone while we're sharing a Google Doc writing the thing.
See, that's, what's interesting is, I know here in Southern California, I mean, everyone's sort of scrambling a little bit because we don't know. I mean, there are people that are wondering, is quote unquote Hollywood going away? I mean, people are leaving, and, it's not just Joe Rogan or like the biggest, like the most famous comics. It's people at all levels. I mean, I know A lot of writers I know, they've left for at least a year. They've just moved to cheaper towns to just see how all this is going to play out. And I mean, a lot of us are wondering, you know, is there any reason that a writer's room can't just be virtual forever? You know, I mean, it's obviously, I think there is some benefit to like being in person, but I don't think it's mandatory.
Well, and on top of just being virtual, I am severely visually impaired. I have no sight in my left eye and very minimal sight in my right eye. So not just were we not in person, but I did a lot of my writing through dictation. And when a lot of our writing we did together over like conference call, and a lot of our writing, after all of our writing, when we went through the editing process, Pat would read everything to me and then we would discuss it. So not just being in separate places, but we had, you know, the visual impairment disability to also work around. And I love Pat because he's been so patient with me and so comforting, and
that's because I can hit the mute button. Like, no, go on.
No, but it's like, I mean, it can't be, it's certainly not easy for me, but it can't be easy for him to have the patience to actually read everything to me and have me try to edit with him. But, you know, even despite that, our book is like totally 50-50 us. I mean, we've written equally the same amount, and we have the same sense of humor, which is kind of could be a detriment because neither one of us get offended at anything. So it was kind of the fine line, like, should we say this? That could be too far.
Yeah, the funniest stuff did not make the book. It just,
Oh,
I mean, the book is, I mean, I hope it's funny, but like, you know, 99% of the people would love the stuff we left out of the book, but the 1% would cancel us on Twitter and we'd be done forever.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, and for anyone who's not clear on the theme, it is the Yes Queen Chronicles coverage from the first annual Resistance Forum, where it's written kind of like a, you know, like a transcript,
like a dialogue,
a dialogue, and it's everybody at this forum, and of course it's a parody. So
I would just wanted to add before, so people don't get the wrong impression about it. It's not entirely looking back. Like that's like, we kind of try to get that out in the beginning so that it's more about the party in the future. So, I mean, I hope it's cathartic, but it's not like documenting 2020 or something. You know, that's not our goal with it at all.
Yeah, we definitely made a conscious effort to not make it about this upcoming election, not make it solely about 2016. We have 2016 in one chapter, we move on. We deal with Black Lives Matter, we deal with masks and the pandemic. We deal with things that are going on presently that also you could reread the book in 5 years and it would still be completely, you know, applicable, and you'd still take something away from it. Who was
your all's favorite character to write? I mean, I've only read one chapter, so I can't say that my favorite character is James Garville.
You like James Garville? He made
out of the chapter I've read, yes. I mean, I feel like I can't say I have a favorite until I've read the whole thing, but like out of the chapter I've read, James was my favorite in that chapter. But who was your all's favorite to write?
Yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up. I think I agree that Alyssa was my favorite because she's such an easy vehicle to say dumb things and point out how flawed her arguments are. But I mean, James was also the ridiculous, you know, the two of them are the ridiculous characters in this story. And the whole thing's a lecture, but we did build in sort of character arc things. Like they, you know, by the end, they're not the same. There are some conflicts from the people on stage, and, you know, it's not just like turn on the mic and they talk about it and then it's over. There's, you know, it's a book, so we had to make it interesting in that respect.
Yeah, and I do want to make it clear to people watching that it is not just about, libs and punching down on them. Nina Burner is a main character. We are represented in this. This isn't just like trash people. Any single burner in the entire universe will like this book. It's very cathartic, and we are represented. So, don't think that it's all about just bashing shit libs. It's a combination of both.
Do you guys hope Nina Turner the real Nina Turner in real life? Do you hope Nina runs for president in 2024?
Hell yes. And also, I'm just going to brag. Nina asked us to go on her podcast. So we'll be joining her on Hello Somebody on the 20th. She reached out because she saw, our book cover and stuff, and read Pat's first one. So I'm like, I can't even but yes, I mean, I was burn and turn all 2020. I was like burn and turn. And I told her that. I've met her like 8 times, and every freaking time I'm like, you know what I'm going to say, burn and turn. So 2024, I cannot think of anyone I'd rather run.
I hope for that too. And also I hope it's not as a Democrat, because I think we need a new party. And that's that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, Jesus could run as a Democrat, and the Democratic Party would undermine him.
The only thing is, if she didn't run as a Democrat, she wouldn't be on the debate stage. And man, would I love her to just rip into some of those people.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a long time between now and then. And if there is a viable alternative to the duopoly, which I feel like in the electoral sense, we need. It's the Democratic Party's done. It's done.
Right.
We have a neo-fascist party and a right-wing party. I don't even say right-wing and center-right. That's being too generous. We have an actual fascist party. The Republicans are a fascist party. I mean, they make the Tories look like charity. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the Tories are awful. Don't get me wrong, but they make the Tories look like charity. So we have a neo-fascist party and a right-wing party. I think calling the Democrats center-right is too generous, because you know what? Around the world, there's a lot of people that are center-right that still at least have the principle that everyone, of course, needs to have health care. And nobody should go bankrupt over medical bills. There's center-right people in England and Canada and, Australia and other countries that feel that way. So no, the Democrats, because they don't even have that. They don't even have that principle.
Yeah. Joe
They're
is
not center-right.
Just recently arguing against a bill that would make sure that the vaccine providers don't gouge the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is not supporting a bill to prevent price gouging from coronavirus stuff.
And he still refused to support Medicare for all. 70% of Americans across the political spectrum, they're for Medicare for all. Joe Biden still won't even give it the lip service. He won't even give it the lip service. Like,
just
this guy.
Lie to me. If you lie to the public, but you can't even, you're so owned that you can't even lie.
Well, I posted a throwback article. In 2019, Joe stated that supporting Medicare for all is a disgrace to his dead son who died of cancer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have not seen that. And
I shared it
one other thing along those lines was probably what Joy's about to say. Sorry, Joy. Go ahead.
Oh, it could be because we were talking about it. Joe Biden actually was talking about having to refinance his home because of having so many medical bills, but good old Obama, who's a millionaire, stepped in for him. Well, we don't have that. I have thousands in medical bills, and I just had surgery, and I am terrified of what I'm going to get, and I don't have an Obama.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, So he didn't end up helping him, but imagine supporting a system where the actual president of the United States is offering to pay your bills for your son's medical bills because the system is so fucked, and not thinking you should change the system.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And I mean, this is, yeah, I mean, we don't live in a country. Like we just don't. Like we're not a country. This is a corporation with state lines drawn. That's what we are. I mean, we have a federal government that has completely failed on every level, and it's by design. It's set up to do that. And we're seeing the system crumble. And by the way, this is what capitalism does every single time it's tried. Every single time it's tried. This is what capitalism does, because this is exactly what it's set up to do. Everything's private ownership, and the people with all the money, they make all the rules. And the people who try to apologize for this, well, technically, it's like, no, it's capitalism. Because, well, if you give the banks, blah, 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 it's not, no, it still is, because they get to make the rules. Don't forget about the second part. The private ownership makes the freaking rules. So this is capitalism. This is what it does. This is what it's set up to do. And we live in a capitalism death cult, literally, where they want you to go to work and die for this beyond broken system.
Absolutely.
I mean, if it isn't clear to people when our government is trying to force people back to work at a higher point in the coronavirus than when we shut down.
Well, and they're trying to send the kids to school.
Yeah. Oh, the kids are fine.
They do not care. I mean, it's unbelievable. You knew they didn't care about our children when school shooting after school shooting after school shooting after school shooting, to the point where it is every other day. And we can't even talk about a common sense weapons policy. And then there are so many models throughout the world we could look to and borrow from each to have a sensible solution that will start to at least make this problem better. The conversation won't even happen. It won't even happen unless you have Beto O'Rourke grandstanding about something he would never actually try to implement in a million years and just make a fool of himself.
Grandstanding on a desk.
On a desk, mind you.
Sorry,
or a salad bar.
Or
I know it's a total dad joke. But...
Or a picnic table. Or no, you know what? I always said his slogan, man: stand on something, stand for nothing. That was Beto. That was good old Beto.
Yeah, I was meant to be in it, man.
Why wasn't he a character?
Ooh.
I didn't. Well, he's not a main character.
Oh, is he in there? He wasn't.
Well,
in the
we talk
chapter
about him, I think.
Okay.
We do.
There is a lot of people that aren't main characters but make an appearance.
Yeah, we got some of them in. There's a breakout room session in the middle of this big forum where you can go to different rooms for stuff, and that was a way to just take little digs at everybody, real quick digs.
Nice. So everybody, check out the book. You can pre-order it now, right? Like you can.
Yeah, it literally is going to the printers today. We did our final edit, our final absolutely everything. It's done. It's in the bag. So, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for them to get us the books back. So it'll be out this month in people's hands. Yeah.
Brilliant. And that website is savageandpat.com. That's savageandpat.com, spelled exactly how it's supposed to be spelled, savageandpat.com. You can pre-order the Yas Queen Chronicles. A couple shout outs here on my end. Nay's Garden, what's up, buddy? Thank you for the amazing oil, by the way. I hope you heard me shout it out at the beginning of the show. $20 for Ron to finally buy Graham's movie earbuds on YouTube. Enjoy it, brother. It's amazing. It will change your life like it changed mine. So a little bit of backstory. First of all, Nay, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. You help keep the show on the air. Thank you very, very much for the Super Chat. But also, there's a little bit of an inside joke there that I shared with Nay. So Graham gave me a DVD of his movie a couple years ago. And I don't have a DVD. The only DVD player I have, my old laptop that I've literally not turned on in years, that I don't know where the charger for it is, has a DVD player that may or may not work. So now it's like a running joke between Graham and I, where he's like, hey, when you finally watch earbuds, and then I go, you know what, Graham, it's awesome. I'm going to a pawn shop. I'm talking to a guy that has an 8-track player. I'm going to call him on my rotary phone. It's like a running fun joke between us now. But one of these days, so Nage was just like, dude, you just gotta buy it. at this point. And so I will do that. And Nay, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. I appreciate it very much. You help keep this show on the air. What else do you guys would you guys like to plug?
Well, I do want to say that, yeah, definitely go to www.savageandpat.com. But in honor of Ron having us on the show, if you type in code RON, RON, you will get $2 off your book.
Nice.
For the next 48 hours. And also, since it is pre-sales, we are still signing all the books. You could pick either Pat or myself and tell us what to sign. And we're getting some gems, I'll tell you that much. But our signature
Kind of regret that part.
easily, like a quarter to the value. So you definitely, if you're going to get it now.
So go to savageandpat.com, pre-order, use the promo code RON, RON, and you get a little discount. How cool is that? That's breaking now. We'll have to make sure we drop this clip as soon as possible too. But yeah, that's breaking now. Go to savageandpat.com. Get a discount before it's too late. Promo code RON.
$1 for every billionaire we need for our 2 billionaire plan. We're going to start, Ron.
Oh, here you go. Melissa wants to know, can I get a book wholesale to have in my bookshop? First of all, Melissa, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. And that's awesome to hear about your bookshop as well. And I would say maybe should she email you guys? Is that the best way to get in touch about that?
That would
All
be an honor. That's amazing.
Awesome.
You could reach out to Pat, we have an email us click on our website, don't we?
Yeah, you can message the website or you could DM either of us directly. I'm on Twitter at Pat the Burner and also at Silly Rabbit, SILE Rabbit.
And I'm at Savage Joy Marie 1. And I also do a video podcast like Ron. I've done it for over 3 years. And that is called The Unruly Hour with Savage Joy. And you could find over 3 years of videos on real progress and action, and then newer videos on Uphill Media.
Awesome. So guys, thanks so much for doing this. I love the chapter I read. I can't wait to read the rest of the book. For everyone listening, that's savageandpat.com. You can pre-order it now. Use the promo code RON and you get a little discount. That's breaking. Nays, thank you very much for the super chat contribution, buddy. And I will take you up on that. I appreciate it very much. Melissa, thank you so much for the super chat contribution, and shout out to your bookstore. Yeah. And, definitely let everybody know about the bookstore too, Melissa, and definitely get in touch with them. And thank you very much, Brent, for the super chat contribution. Can't wait to get my copy. Thanks, Ron, Pat, and Joy. Thank you very much, Brent. Joe, for the beer weed fund. Thank you very much, Joe. You're looking out. You're looking out for the essentials. I appreciate it. Thank you, Nays. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Joe, for the super chat contribution. You helped keep this show on the air. Joy and Pat, always a pleasure. Can't wait to read the entire book. Thank you so much for getting your news on with me today. And everybody, you know the drill here at Get Your News On with Ron. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Our guest tomorrow is B. Dolan. He is a rapper and activist. You may know of him because he collaborates a lot with Sage Francis and is on the Strange Famous record label, which you guys may remember when Sage Francis was on the show. I referred to it as Strange Fiction Records because I'm a freaking idiot. And I was really embarrassed. And I even explained myself. I was like, Fiction Records, that's the Cure's label. That's why I got confused. The Cure's on Fiction. So I'm sorry that I failed. And but he laughed. So that was fine. But B. Dolan is going to be on the show to talk about a project that he is going to revamp about calling out about basically having a WikiLeaks style website, but it's about corporations, and it's diving into the nitty gritty on corporations. This is a database he had prior called No More. He's bringing it back, and he's going to fill us in on the details. I'm really looking forward to talking to him. In the meantime, savageandpat.com, promo code Ron, pick up the book. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. And you know the drill in the meantime. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.